If you can't move without data, you're dead, right? So I understand a lot of people want to have data to make better decisions, but if the lack of data or the lack of trust in data creates no decisions, you're dead as a company.
Welcome to the PushPress podcast,
where gym owners learn to dodge bad advice, crush the competition, and actually make money doing what they love. Let's get after it.
So we had a core value at PushPress, and it was be data-driven. One of the things that I actually saw manifesting within our team during this time period, it was a good window, probably still happens from time to time, but it was like this friction between, some people who would act the minute they got data, they were often sprinting, and the opposite was true as well, which is like, I can't act without any data. And it's just like this paralysis between two teams, and it was like this friction that was forming. And so what's interesting is I kind of see the same path forming in the fitness space.
Yeah, exactly. The keynote that I've done in the last couple of years, last two keynotes have been pretty data driven. And I will say, if I would have given that keynote 8 years ago or so, I don't think anyone would have really, it would have been too much.
Mm-hmm.
But now what I see is people leaning in, eyes open, pencils out. You can see very clearly people are hungry for the data. And I think this episode is more of a cause for pause. Ooh, that rhymed. Cause for pause. In saying that, I'll be honest. When we established the be data-driven as a core value here, we didn't really know. It sounded cool. It felt cool. We didn't really know the implications of that. And I'm actually seeing this same type of thing manifesting in the gym ownership space. So I think this episode is really important to talk about because data is not the holy grail. Having, access to data or acting only on data can be actually bad if you don't understand what you're doing. And so we need to dive right into that right now.
Let's do it.
Okay, cool. So the first thing, and this is the first thing that tipped my brain off to this, I read a Bezos quote once that basically said, when data and anecdote conflict, anecdote usually wins. And Bezos is like the king of running the business by KPIs. So I was like, what? That made no sense, right? Humans' gut wins.
Right.
Why? Why is that the case? And if you really think about it, especially in the age of AI, I've thought about this a lot recently. We as human beings are wired to measure everything around us at all times. I know there's 3 people outside potentially about to start working on a lawnmower. You know what I mean? The computer don't. Nothing else does. Yeah, they're out there right now. So anyway, but I'm just saying, we are aware of our surroundings innately, and we are measuring things whether we know it or not. And I was actually having a conversation with someone recently, and I'm like, hey, I never realized good leaders have really good gut decision or instinct. That's a thing. And really it's because they have a lot of experience. And what experience translates is data. Yeah, it's just data.
Over periods of time, it's all
unstructured
data stacking.
Yeah, it's unstructured data that creates feelings, and feelings create gut decisions, right? And so this is where Bezos is saying, if your gut is telling you strongly that something that is the data is not, usually you actually have millions, probably more data points than the data does, and you can't quantify that, but you just know it's wrong. And so I think there's one thing, the first thing right off the bat, again, why I've slightly pivoted away from leaning so hard into the data piece is because it's easy for data to be wrong, manipulated, miscalculated, misdefined, which we'll go over these things later. And you just have a sense that the sniff test doesn't pass here.
Right. I mean, you kind of hit the nail on the head. Data can always be wrong. And again, I know we'll talk about definitions.
Wrong is a subjective term too.
Correct. I step on a scale every morning. I don't know if you know this. Every single morning I step on a scale, I log my weight. Big scale guy now. Wasn't always this way. Hated scale. Anyways, even my home scale, they say that home scales can be off by 5% at any given time because of changes in Earth's gravity, right? And that's even stepping on the exact same scale at the exact same time every morning. And there's still...
Well, there's seasonality. There's so many different...
There's still a margin for error in there, right? Now, again, the benefit is I'm using the same one, the same consistency. And again, we'll get into definitions because that would kind of be the equivalent here. But even doing that, there's still a ring for error. So if you are only going on what the data says as opposed to the gut. So I step on that scale and my gut reaction is, that's right. That seems about right based upon I worked out yesterday. I didn't eat like a trash can yesterday. like I followed my macros, but that's the gut reaction from the previous day and all the data points that we're talking about. I remember I had broccoli with lunch, and I remember I did these things.
Yeah, like if you stepped on a scale and all of a sudden it's like, oh, you're 240 pounds, your instinct would be like, absolutely not.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and an interesting topic to that is, so you're talking about stepping on the same scale. You go to the doctors, you step on a scale, variable scales, variable weights. Like I even went to my coffee shop and they're like, oh, we're using a new scale now. So we have to re-tear everything because the coffee grinds aren't measuring out the same. The flavor's not the same. So this happens, right? We just assume scales are scales. The other interesting thing is like once in a while, I used to step on a scale at the gym and it was one of these medical grade, like it didn't just freeze on a number. So it was just constantly like trying to find my weight. And what I realized is it never stopped. It would just be like, 200.1, 200.2, 199.8. And no matter how
Like a little shift.
how the wind blew, whatever, my weight never just stopped, which was infuriating because at home you're used to feeling bing, bing, hits a number. This one just never stopped. And I'm like, wow, I must weigh something. What do I weigh?
Yeah.
It just never came to a number, which is
It's so frustrating.
It's so weird. Yeah. So another thing I want to point to, in terms of data is like, okay, we operate small businesses, like, oh, the data is really hard to come to. The data is inaccurate. Well, I'm a small business. Maybe that's normal. But the reality is like, this goes all the way up to publicly traded companies. Like nobody really knows their data for sure. And the more accurate you can get, obviously the better decisions you can make. But again, I think it's more about directionality. So it's like, if you step on the scale every day and it's like generally trending up, you're generally getting heavier, like that's just the case. But whether you're, 200 pounds or 200.8 pounds doesn't really matter in that equation, right? So the thing is, when you're talking about publicly traded companies, it can matter because like a rounding error could be $1 billion to them, or it could materially affect shareholders. And there's this crazy study that basically found that publicly traded companies present their numbers to the investor community. And this is like regulated by the SEC, audited. You've got, tons of pencil pushers, like making sure the numbers are right. The C-suite, when interviewed on this, they felt 71% of the C-suite felt very confident that their numbers were accurate. And then they interviewed the accountants and the people that published numbers, and only 38% of the accountants and the people actually working on the numbers felt that the numbers were accurate.
So it just hit me one reason why this probably could happen. So I worked for a publicly traded company. I've worked for a couple publicly traded companies. And in sales, when we have to do forecasting, this is a quick tangent, but when we have to do forecasting and you're an account executive, it's like, I'm going to do 20 million next year. And it's like, ooh, I'm going to do 18 million next year. And if you have all of that done across every person in every role that's measured on a KPI, that's going to maybe sandbag it a little bit because they're going to be graded on it. Now, next thing you know, you have the person right above them that's like, I know Nick's sandbagging that number. And all of a sudden, the level of confidence in that number is dropping at the low side, right?
Mm-hmm.
But as you stack them, I'm sure it's crazy, like the margin for error at the top.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. And the other thing you have to remember too, and this goes, from small company to large company, whenever data is being measured, if data is being measured in a way that someone's accountable for it, if you don't have the proper incentive alignment, or if you don't have the proper checks or guardrails against that, you're going to get an inflation or a deflation of these numbers because someone's measured against it. And maybe their pay is tied to it or their job security is tied to it. So there's a lot of influences that aren't just, misrecording of data. There's human factors too that are involved in this.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think, and we touched on this a little bit earlier. The next point here is that definitions matter. Had this great conversation last night with Rob from All Fit Orlando over dinner, and we were talking about churn rate and churn rate in gym, specifically going back to your keynote, right? And he was saying how in some of his work for the gym doc, that gym owners would come in and say, oh, my churn is 3%. And we both know from your past keynotes that that's usually false.
Yeah.
But I said, how do you define churn, Rob? And he's like, someone leaves in the gym after they've had a membership. It's like, okay, but what happens if they come back 2 days after they cancel and you create a new membership? Is that churn? What about 2 weeks? What about 2 months?
Yeah.
What about 2 years? And he's like, oh my gosh, I hadn't thought about that and how that affects churn. And so now all of a sudden it's like, well, what about punch cards? our punch cards memberships, and every one
Is that limited plan of membership? What about when someone pauses for a week? For 3 months? Yeah. What if someone pauses as their way of exiting, but you forget about it?
Someone
Is
comes
that
for
true?
the summer.
Yeah.
And just for the summer.
Yeah.
Are they a member?
Yeah, they're a military person. They say, "Hey, I'm gonna join for 90 days." Is that true? Yeah, all of this does matter, and it is not clear at this point. And
It is not.
I will say personally, like, we've worked with some, like, data collection industry reports, and, like, one thing that I found was nobody was really asking for a standard set of definitions. So my initial instinct was, there's apples and oranges being published to people who assume that there is a standard and there's not. It would be like, saying that the triathlon for one athlete is a 10K, and for one athlete is a marathon.
Yeah.
Like, you can't measure the same up against each other unless it's a standard of what you're measuring to. And I think there's just a lack of sophistication in general in this industry to understand what the standards are being set.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Couldn't agree more.
Last one. So fifth one, there's a quick one. This is good. And this, as a CEO of a company, this is the one that, like, kind of irks me, is an over-reliance on data. And this goes back to what you were talking about earlier. Like, if you can't move without data, you're dead, right? So I understand a lot of people want to have data to make better decisions, but if the lack of data or the lack of trust in data creates no decisions, you're dead as a company, right?
Yeah, it's interesting. Now that we're unpacking this a little bit, it's like when you go back and you think about what Bezos and our first jumping off point here with all the different data points that we collect in our brains, and really it's the experience that allows you to make those better kind of gut decisions. If you can't act without data, then you probably don't have enough experience for the decision you're trying to make.
That's a money quote right there.
And the flip side, I guess, would be if you only make gut, your ego might outpace
Absolutely.
your ability to make those decisions as well, right? So it's a double-edged sword, and it's like you kind of want to be in the middle and surfing a little bit.
I think that is the epitome of business.
Yep.
If you go too far in any direction, you're probably in trouble. Yeah. So if you are, like, wiring your entire business to run off of data and you will not do things without the data, you will get lapped by someone who's a little bit more intuitive. And if you are completely intuitive, you will make bad decisions over time.
Yep.
So, the basic point is that, and that, like, hey, what happens when data conflicts? Because data conflicts a lot. Like, one data signal is telling you one thing, another data signal is telling you something opposite. And it's really up to you as the leader to make a decision.
Yep.
And so I think it's more important to be able to start to test and hone your ability to make decision in the inclusion or absence of data, and be able to stack those experiences to, continue to build your gut.
And a big part of that, like the final loop, is just reflect on it.
100%.
I nailed that decision. What was the gut instinct? What was the thing that led me to believe that was correct? Do I know it? Can I feel it, right? Or like, oh no, I really messed that one up,
Yeah.
right? Like, why?
Yeah. You're going back to all the memes that you see on social media. It's like, there is no such thing as failure if you learn, but there is no learning if you don't reflect. So there has to be postmortems done on wins and losses alike. And you've got to really digest, like, why did I think that? Why was I right? Why was I wrong? How could it have been better?
Yep.
Stuff like that. I mean,
Absolutely.
This is how you build your own internal data sets that really, it's the difference between the world's best entrepreneurs and people who can't get off the ground.
Well, I love it.
Yeah.
So, have you ever ignored data, made a gut decision, and just absolutely nailed it? If you have, we want to hear about it. Hit us up, podcast@pushpress.com. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. Thanks for listening to another episode of the PushPress podcast, where we help gym owners, entrepreneurs, and fitness enthusiasts thrive with actionable insights, inspiring stories, and strategies for growth.
Don't forget to follow the show to stay updated on new episodes. And if you're ready for more, join our free Facebook community for gym owners. Check the show notes for the link, and we'll see you next time. Keep raising the bar for your business and community.